it's from that is the but I don't think it's gonna be the same.
I don't.
You can get a chance to review. It's only the financial report.
Let me make Next meeting.
I'll be not, you know.
Like little hands, you know, like she without the weekend.
Okay.
We're ready. All right, good afternoon, everybody. It is approximately 5:31 p.m. Today is Tuesday, January 30th, 2024. And I want to welcome everybody to the Laredo College Building Committee and Finance and Audit Committee meeting. I call this meeting to order. I will proceed with roll call with the Building Committee first. I have Mr. Mercurio Martinez, Lupita Cepeda, absent, Jorge Delgado, present, and Esteban Rangel.
Present.
All right, we'll move forward with the Finance and Audit Committee meeting roll call. Well, Jorge Delgado, present, Esteban Rangel,
Present.
Karina Elizondo, absent, and Ms. Tita Vela. Here. All right. We'll move on to agenda item number 3, as it reads approval of Title V Learning, Engaging, and Academic Support through Data-Driven Action, LEAD P031S230150, matching funds of $50,000 per year for 5 years as per grant criteria. Dr. Diana Ortiz.
Good evening, members of the Finance Committee, Dr. Minita, Board, Administration, and guests. Today, I'm asking for approval of the Title V Learning Engaging Academic Support through Data-Driven Action, which is a LEAD grant. The P number is there, and we are asking for matching funds of $50,000 per year for a 5-year position on this grant. This grant was awarded to Laredo College October of 2023. We have recently hired the project director for this grant, and the grant calls for a endowment to be created. They are providing us $50,000 per year for 5 years, and we will be matching that with the 1-year request right now of $50,000. The LEAD budget is again through 2028. The audience for this grant will be 200 students per year for every year all the way through 2028. We will be looking at high schools graduating juniors and seniors who are not college ready, as well as current LC students who have not passed the TSI and are scheduled to enroll in an LC development course. The budgetary consideration for this would be the restricted scholarship account 280001, which is a restricted non-general operating fund.
Thank you, Dr. Ortiz. Any questions from members of the Finance and Audit Committee? Thank you very much, Dr.
Thank you.
Ortiz. All right, we're going to move on to agenda item number 4. Approval of schedule of fees for usage of Laredo College facilities, personnel, and equipment as per Laredo College Policy GD Local, Community Expression and Use of College Facilities. Dr. Fred Solis and Ms. Cristina Valenciano. Sorry, am I hearing an echo?
Yes,
Okay,
I think they're working on it.
okay, no problem.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, committee members. Fred Solis, Vice President for Student Success and Enrollment.
And Cristina Valenciano, Director of Event Services.
Administration is bringing for the board's consideration a schedule of fees that have to do with or that have to be enacted whenever there are requests from the community to rent our facilities. The fee schedule includes not only the fee charged for the use of the facility, but also for personnel as needed and specialized equipment as needed. The rates that are shown before you are rates that were researched and put together based on the competitive nature of what what the rates are for similar facilities throughout the community. But at the same time, remaining community friendly for the community to come in and use our facilities. Again, we're starting to see an increase in the amount of requests that have come in as we continue to open up our campus to the community and continue to open up our doors for community members to come in and actually use our facilities.
Wonderful. And when was the last time these were updated?
Actually, this is the first time we're presenting them to the board. And as per GD local policy, the board has to adopt a schedule of fees for that purpose.
If I may,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Delgado.
Chair recognizes Dr. Ramirez.
According to your policies, this should be done every year. It hasn't been done in numerous years, so we wanted to make sure that we complied, and so therefore bringing it forward to you.
When should we be doing this around budget time to reviewing these fees? Best,
Ideally,
so-
yes,
Okay.
but we wanted to get this done ASAP, so they worked on it for the last 3 weeks and brought it forward, and so we reviewed it, we made comparisons to other entities in town. We're certainly far less expensive than most retail. And then there are some exceptions that we make for our partners, our local school districts and some of our tenants that during the workday, we don't charge these fees. And so if they have events at night or on the weekend when we have to bring extra personnel, then we charge them the fees and they know that it's part of their contracts. So ideally, we need to have something approved by the board so that we can move forward with our contractual obligations.
Chair recognizes Mr. Rangel.
Thank you. So we weren't charging back then?
No, we were charging. We just didn't have the fees approved by the board.
So now we're looking on this. Now, the fees you're saying you got an average of based around, I'm thinking our parameter, which is Webb County and the
Yeah.
surrounding areas.
Right,
Local.
right.
But did we look at buildings that are, because let's just say we don't have, I mean, we do have one at United and at LISD, but which is the MFA, but like, did we go out of our boundaries? Let's say McAllen, San Antonio. We did not search those.
No. No, because the people that would use our facility aren't gonna go to McAllen to use that
No,
facility.
I understand that. Now, I'm just a bit concerned on this, because of the wear and tear of the building, the maintenance of it.
Mhm.
I'm not looking at this at a year or 2 years from now. We should be fine. But I'm just thinking once we start renting it out at 100%, and then how much is a chiller for the MFA? It's
Right.
not
Right.
$350. It's not $4,000, you're talking to the thousands.
Right. And
So that's just my concern on it. So the money that's gonna be made off of this, where is it going?
So that money is going to be recycled back to the department in order to continue providing event services. So take, for instance, the wear and tear in the chairs or the tables or tablecloths and linens and so forth. That money comes back to be able to help with that.
To be used not only for the community, but also for student use. So our students are also going to benefit from the use of the facilities. They're going to be able to invite more presenters to come to the MFA or have debates just to further expand their its use at the moment.
Are you gonna hold a certain percentage per year to be able to sustain a big cost, let's say 3, 5, 6, 8 years down the line? Or it's gonna go at whatever's being used that year? We don't have any more money, then you're gonna hit the general fund.
So the idea is we're not in the business of rentals, okay? But on any given day, somebody needs a place to have an in-service
Understand.
training.
Yes,
The MFA is rarely used by outsiders. but I'll give you an example. We're leasing for the Princess Pocahontas presentation in 2 weeks. And so this is the second year they hold it here, but something to that magnitude, they're the only ones that use it. But there is no other place for them to have their event. And those students that participate in that event eventually become our students.
So
I understand.
If
My-
I, go ahead, Mr. Blanco.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, there's some parameters and caveats that are related to lending out our facilities, renting out our facilities. And that is instruction always takes priority.
Mhm.
And then as time allows, or the facility allows, then that's when it becomes available to community members. Fee structures, additional services for personnel and or equipment that's gonna be needed for the particular event, that's all worked out through Ms. Cristina Valenciano. And the charges are discussed up front in terms of their utilization and scheduling.
Well, that's a good point. I think that first of all, we should be first priority, you know, the hands down. Second of all, maybe our fellow government entities, school districts, city of Laredo. But I do feel that we should hold the city accountable on having a convention center, you know, because this is something that they need to be able to hold these types of events. But of course, we're not there, you know, we're not council, but I'm just saying that, you know, it's just the wear and tear of our buildings are going to take a huge hit. Now on staffing, you aren't going to flex, or are you going to flex their schedules? And the reason why I'm asking is if staff comes in and just because there's nothing on the books, let's say today on Tuesday, I need you, Esteban, to come work till 10 o'clock at night. And the reason why I'm saying that is because Esteban's gonna have his schedule 8 to 5 or whatever it is, Monday through Friday. If you're gonna need Esteban to come in and work, that should be paid overtime.
We don't, well, go
Well,
ahead, Christina.
At the moment, let's say for instance, in the MFA, we are currently flexing their schedule. But we're allowing for coverage within my area to help, I guess, satisfy the need of the 8 to 4 in the meantime while that staff comes in.
So, and staff is okay with that?
Yes.
Yes, yeah,
It's part of the MFA, it's part of the theater atmosphere. When there is a production, they know that they're gonna work evenings. I mean, the schedule is laid out for the year. We already know when opera workshop is gonna be. We already know when LTGI has a performance. We already know if there's gonna be a recital for the dance department. We already know when the recitals are for the music department. Those are already scheduled out for the whole semester. So they already know how to plan those schedules. And really what we're trying to do is hire students and to give them opportunities to work and learn a skill.
So they're gonna be the ones made like,
All of our
Doing the event.
ushers, all of our, if you're talking solely about the theater, yes, the majority of those people working there are students. In Christina's department, she's the only full-timer. The rest are all students.
Right.
And she's an exempt employee, so.
of course, I understand. that.
yeah. And we
That's fine.
in the MFA, we do have an exempt employee that's also helping to assist with the events or the longer hours in addition to our flex schedule. as well.
The only thing is this, Dr. Ramirez, I do want this to come to the board on an annual basis, because if you want to make sure that, hey, if we need to up the monies of, you know, for fees, if we have to do that, we have to do that to be able to maintain whatever the facility might intake. So I think it is important now that you're saying that by policy, we were supposed to bring it. I hope that this is brought up at an annual basis, because
Yeah.
I think it's important.
Actually, Christina was the one that found it.
Good job. But thank you for bringing it up, and I hope you keep up with it, because I know it's going to be very important to sustain your budget, to be able to run the whole department. But thank you.
Chair recognizes Ms. Tita Vela.
You know, I know of an instance which I was not aware of until recently, where one of our students who has been working and helping out on these, he saved his money and is paying all his tuition for his next 2 years at TAMU. So that's, you know, we're helping our students
Mhm.
by doing.
That's the
these
idea.
little things. I mean, it was.
And
he
that
saved
same,
all his money,
and
and
that
now-
same student is now being hired at the theater over there.
see? Yeah.
Wonderful.
It's pretty commendable.
Also, just for the record, I want to recognize Ms. Karina Elizondo as present and Ms. Lupita Cepeda as present. Now, although we do have a quorum here currently, no action will be taken at all because then memo will jump. Any other questions or concerns on this particular item? All right. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to agenda item number
Thank you.
5, November 2023 financial report. Mr. Cesar Vela.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the Finance and Audit Committee and Building Committee. For the record, Cesar Vela, VP of Finance and Administration. Included with the board package, you received a copy of the November 2023 financial report. I'll go briefly over the highlights of the report. And I'll start off with the general operating revenues. As of November 30th, revenues are $31,635,602. That represents 44% of our budgeted revenue. Compared to last year, we had, at this point in time, we had received $24,412,602 in revenue, or 36% of our budget. The difference this year is that the state appropriation money, in prior years, we were getting the payments in 10 payments. The appropriations was being received or paid out in 10 payments. This time around, it's 3 payments, 50% upfront. So our 50% totaled $9,547,517. And then we got 2 remaining payments of 25% of the appropriation will be paid out early summer, and the remaining towards the end of the fiscal year. So again, at this point last year, we had received in state appropriation funds 3.7 million. This year, we have received 9.5, which represents 50% of our appropriation. As far as the tuition and fee revenue for the year, we have tuition revenue of 4.1 million, and this represents the fall semester. General use fees of 4.4 and fees of 4.7 million. Again, these are pretty much in line to the numbers we saw last fiscal year when it came to tuition and fee revenue. As far as the local taxes, we have received 7.4 million for the through the month of November. At this point last year, we had received 7.8 million in the property tax revenue. We are about $400,000 behind in collections, so we'll be monitoring that in the upcoming months to make sure that we're back in line. Again, for this year, we budgeted a collection rate of 98%. So that is the target that we have right now for this fiscal year. Any questions on the general operating revenues? No? For the expenses, as of November 30th, we have expenses of 15,754,401. That's 21.89%. We don't have any variances at this time compared to our budget. Again, we're at 21.89% of our budgeted expenditures. Compared to last year, we were at 14,747,878, or 22.25% of our budget. So again, we are on target when we are looking at our operating expenses for the fiscal year. When we look at the other funds, the Import-Export Center, our budget is 141,164. We have received the complete appropriation for the year. This was one change again that we saw this fiscal year. Now the state is upfronting the complete amount for the special appropriation of 141,164. Expenses for the year are at 15,202. So that's right now we do have a net change to the fund balance of 51,738. Auxiliary services, we have a budget of 1,584,188. The auxiliary services are composed of the student activities, the bookstore, residential and food services, and also the health clinic, the Gateway Health Clinic. Revenues for the year for all these funds total $927,095 or 58% of our budget. Expenses are at $351,809 or 22.2% of our budget. We do have one item to note under auxiliary services, and that is the bookstore revenue. In previous years, we had received up to $275,000 in commission income. We have made a change on how we are operating, and as we've been moving to OERs, obviously the sales of the bookstore have gone down. So we're right now in the process of reviewing the agreement that we have with the bookstore. The bookstore has reached out to us and expressed concern regarding the sale of books. Obviously, all of our courses are moving to OERs, so we are going to be looking at the contract for the bookstore. So at this point right now, again, we do have included in the 1.5 million, 275,000 of commission revenue. Whereas at this point, we have not recorded any revenue, again, because of the decrease in sales with the bookstore. So we'll be revisiting that, and we'll be bringing that information to the board as we conclude those discussions with the bookstore. Restricted funds, we have revenues of 12.7 million and expenses of 12.7. The revenue is primarily coming from the Title IV grants. 11.2 million of that has to do with the Pell and the Federal Work Study Program. As far as the CARES Act funding, we have a total of 908,000 still available. And that money is a portion of that money. We had made an allocation for the student meal plan and also for the Laredo CARES 3.0 program. So again, we are expecting to expense or spend down that balance by the end of June, which is the deadline for the grant. Any questions on the other funds?
Any questions from members of the committee? Chair recognizing Ms. Cepeda.
I just have a question on the CARES money. Will we be able to spend it by the date?
Yes, Ms. Cepeda. As a matter of fact, with the Laredo CARES 3.0, we've already started with that program. So the majority of the funding, the 908,000 that we have available, up to 750,000 will be used for the program. So yes, we do have the plan to spend down the funds.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Vela, with regards to the bookstore, they approached us to have changes to the contract?
That
or
is
the agreement?
That is correct, sir.
And is there a deadline as far as when those changes are going to be brought to the board?
We are working on scheduling the meeting. Unfortunately, they were not, the management from Follett were not available during the later part of the last year. And so they've been trying to schedule a meeting with us to discuss the contract. But as soon as we have that information, we'll bring it back to the board.
Thank you.
Facilities master plan, as of November 30th, we began the fiscal year with a balance of 12,850,537. We had interest revenue of 164,258, which has come back to the projects. Expenditures for the year totaled 1,385,907. That is a net change for the year of 1,221,379. So as of November 30th, we have a balance of 11,629,158. And again, these projects or these funds have all been allocated to the facilities master plan. We do have one project that we're working on getting a GMAX. So the architect has finalized the plans and they're getting ready to release those for pricing. And this has to do with the more vocational lab, welding lab improvements. So as soon as we have that information, we'll bring it over to the board for consideration. Tax collections, as I mentioned, as of November 30th, the collections totaled 7,416,708. represents 16.14% of our tax levy. Again, at this point last year, we had collected 7,897,607, or 18.48% of the tax levy. So again, we'll be monitoring. Again, we are a little bit behind compared to last year, but we feel that, again, we still have the rest of the fiscal year to catch up on the collections. Again, for the year, we budgeted the operating budget at a 98% collection rate. The investment report as of October 31st, 2023, we have total investments and deposits of 114,339,228. Right now, 94,403,848 are in the bank deposit accounts. The investment pools, we have 19,935,380. The current yields on the demand deposits are yielding 4.52%. Lone Star investment pool is yielding 5.61%, and the FIT investment pool is yielding 5.51%. Currently, the T-bill rates are around 5.2% as of today. So again, when we look at the investment pools, we are earning a little bit more than the T-bill rates right now. And lastly, just an update on the general operating fund balance. As we closed out the fiscal year for 2023, we ended the the balance on the general operating fund balance totaled 5,512,532. Again, last year or at the beginning of the fiscal year for 2023, we had a fund balance of 5,044,204. So again, included in the 5.5 million, we were able to address a transfer of 5 million to cover the MFA HVAC project. In addition to that, we transferred 1,856,000 to the deferred maintenance projects. So again, even with those transfers out, we were able to add to the general operating fund balance at the end of the last year. So again, we went from 5,044,204 to 5,512,532. Again, this is now the second year where we've had a positive fund balance. Prior to that, again, our balance was at a negative 2,545,744, and that was due to the liabilities that we have to record for both the pension plan and the post-benefit plan that we have with the state of Texas. As far as the year, we have revenues of 31,635,000, expenses of 15,754,000. We do have right now, for the first couple of months of operations, an increase of 15.8 million. Again, it's early in the fiscal year. Obviously, this will change as we move through the fiscal year. Any questions on any of the items?
No, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vela. All right, we'll move on to agenda item number 6, which is going to be the ratification of Dell Apex Cloud Backup and Disaster Recovery Service Renewal. Mr. Cesar Vela.
Yes, board members, I'm going to defer this item to Mr. Albert Chavez, Associate Vice President of Information Technology, to present the item.
Good evening, members of the Building Committee and Finance and Audit Committees. For the record, Albert Chavez, Associate Vice President of Information Technology. For this particular request, we're requesting that the board ratifies the purchase of our annual renewal of our existing Dell Apex Cloud Backup and Disaster Recovery Service. For this particular item, it was procured through the vendor or reseller SQL Data Systems using a DIR contract, DIR TSO 3765. The cost for the renewal was $84,657 with 60 cents. The term for the contract is February 2nd, 2024 to February 2nd, 2025. And it was procured using funds that were allocated to the IT department.
What was the cost of the service last year, or was it the same price?
It was the same price.
Same price. Any questions from members of the committee? Thank you, Mr. Chavez. All right, we'll move on to agenda item number 7, which is a fiscal year 2023 audit. Mr. Cesar Vela?
Yes, good evening, members of the board. Let me see, I believe we've been having technical difficulties. We do have Mr. Eli Mendoza from the audit firm of Garza Gonzalez and Associates joining us via Zoom, but I believe he's not able to hear our presentation. So let me see if we can get him. If not, I can go over the items.
Mr. Vela, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Mr. Mendoza?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Right, so I'll go ahead and defer to Mr. Mendoza, who'll provide you an update on the fiscal year 2023 audit and financial information.
Thank you.
Can y'all hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay, the sound's a little low and can barely hear you all. So, but I'll go ahead and speak to the report. My name is Eli Mendoza. I'm a partner with the firm of Garza Gonzalez and Associates. And I was a partner in charge of conducting the audit. And pleased to come before you as committee members and to give you some brief highlights of the independent auditors report that we have issued. I don't know if the pages of the report can be placed on the screen. Page 12 is the independent auditors report. The second paragraph basically indicates that we are rendering an unmodified report, which is a clean opinion. And these are on the financial statements for the year ended August 31st, 2023 and 2022. The second paragraph is indicates that in our opinion, the financial statements referred to above present fairly in all material respects the respective financial position of the college. So basically it means that based on the audit that we have performed, the user of the financial statements may rely on those figures that are being presented. Next, page 15 are some of the highlights that are included as part of the management discussion and analysis. If we can go to page 15. Page 15, the first bullet indicates that the net position at the end of the year was 99.2 million compared to 80.3 million as of last year. So it's about a $19 million increase compared to last year. So basically, when you look at the net position, meaning total assets minus total liabilities, including all assets of the college, all liabilities, including pension, post-employment, and so on and so forth, you are better off this year by approximately 19 million compared to last year. In addition, there's other highlights in here. The ad valorem tax revenues, the second bullet, increased by about 5.7%. And the figures are stated on that bullet. And also that your non-operating revenues increased by 11.74% or 9.5 million compared to the previous year. And you had capital assets and also right to use subscription assets in the current year that have an increase of 11.2 million. This year, if you notice that right to use subscription assets, what those are IT arrangements or contracts that you have. This year, for the first time, you were required to present that on the balance sheet. So the contracts, the right to use, the assets that you have a right to use are presented as assets and also as liabilities, the portion that you're obligated to pay. If you turn to page 16, it's a comparative statement of position, and this is a good summary view of the position of the financial position of the college. You can look at it 3 years based of information, so you can see a steady increase in total assets. For example, 324 million, 330 million, and 342 for the current year. And then you have deferred outflows of resources. Those are basically like prepayment, similar to a prepayment, where you have the effect, the net assets have been increased, but it relates to expenses in the following years. And a lot of the OPEB and the pension figures, which are the larger figures, have to do with estimates in the pension and post-employment liabilities. And then the bottom line, you could see on the net assets, net position, you could see the increase in the net position, which is positive for the college. You know, you went from 64 at the very bottom number on the left, you have 64,891,859. So compared to 80 million point two, and then this year 99.1. And you can also see the change in the unrestricted net assets. Basically, the unrestricted net assets is a portion of the assets that is available to be used for operations. But again, keep in mind that this is reflective of all assets and liabilities, net of all assets and liabilities for the college. Does not necessarily mean the operating part of it, which I think it's discussed during your monthly meetings with Mr. Vela. So now I would like to jump to the back part of the report. On page 94 and 95. Which is the schedule of findings and question cost. Basically, this particular schedule summarizes the results of the audit. So when we perform the audit, we perform several sections, several components. The first component is the financials section, which I've already covered. The auditor report that we issue is an unmodified report, which is a clean opinion. It used to be called an unqualified opinion. Now it's called an unmodified opinion or report. We had no material weaknesses in internal controls that we identified over the financial reporting. We had no significant deficiencies that were identified, and also no non-compliance that is material to the financial statements. So all those no excess are positive for the college. Then the other sector of the report is the federal and the state awards. You received, I think, approximately $25 million this year. You had federal expenditures, federal funds that you expended in a current year, about 25 million. And so we are also required by by the uniform guidance, which is the federal requirements. We're required to also test the internal controls over the major programs. And pleased to report that we did not identify any material weaknesses nor significant deficiencies. So both of those notes there at the middle of the page are positive for the college. And also we issue a compliance report which is also unmodified on the major programs. And we had no findings that we are required to report to you. So generally, we've had clean reports where we had no findings. I think there was 1 year that we did have a finding in like several years back. So for purposes of the major programs that we audited, we audited quite a bit of programs this year. We audited the adult education, the student financial assistance cluster, the higher education institutional aid, TRIO, and also the education stabilization funds, which are dwindling down. You know, you're no longer going to have all that nice assistance that was received due to the COVID pandemic. So that's kind of going away. As far as the threshold for the programs that we audit, that is also disclosed there at the bottom of the page, 753,000. And then also a notation there that you're qualified as a low risk auditee, which again is positive for the college. Any questions so far on the annual financial report
Any
and on
questions?
the compliance part of it?
No, no questions at this time.
No questions? Okay. Then I'm gonna go ahead and also cover the report on conduct of audit, which is a report specifically to the audit committee, to the finance and audit committee. And if you could go to the table of contents, there's a listing of all the different topics that we are communicating here. If we can also show that on the screen, that would be great. Basically, that part of if you have your copy with you, the report of conduct of audit outlines the responsibilities that we have as auditors. It also outlines the audit scope. If we had any difficulties that we encounter in performing the audit, we would be required to communicate that to you as a board. We did have we had no difficulties in dealing with management, but there were some delays, and we're including that notation there as part of the report on page, at the top of page 2. We indicate in there that there was some delays in the implementation of GASB 96, which is an auditing standard. And so some of those delays in preparing the financial statements, we did encounter that. However, you know, the report was submitted on time to the coordinating board, so you were able to meet the requirements. On page 2 of the report also is the Roman numeral 5, which is corrected and uncorrected misstatements. We're required to communicate to you as a committee the different adjustments that we recommended, and so those are listed there for you. We had a couple of them there. And also, if there was any misstatements on the financial statements that was not corrected, we are also required to communicate that. And we had a small uncorrected misstatements that had to do with a last minute error that was identified of 153,000 related to the subscription-based technology arrangements. So as far as the following pages, we have some recommendations, some comments that we made on page 3, beginning on page 3. And again, we want to recommend that regarding the implementation of the accounting standards, you know, those last year we had some issues in implementing the standard, the financials, in completing them on a timely basis. So we're just basically recommending that the college ensure that the accounting department is adequately staffed and then has the sufficient resources and training available to make sure that all these accounting and financial reporting is met, you know, in a timely manner, and you as a board gets the reports on a timely manner. So that was one comment. We did have several others on one dealing on procurement. There's some wording that's required on contracts over $1 million, and we found contract that did not have those provisions in there. And there's other minor ones that are included in the following page. The last one is, I do want to kind of go over it a little bit on the capital asset inventory. I know the college has been short-staffed and as far as this particular area of the fiscal inventory has not been completed. My understanding is that there is a company that is going to be coming in to assist in conducting the inventory, and I think that's coming within shortly, I think in the next few months. Also, Mr. Vela would probably be able to address any responses or plan of action regarding our recommendations. So at this point, I guess I can either address questions or pass it to Mr. Vela to address what the plan of action is. Is there any questions from the committee?
Any questions? Not at this time. Mr. Vela?
All right, these are some of the items that we'll be working on. As Mr. Mendoza mentioned, these are items that were noted during the review of this year's audit. So we are working on making sure that we address these items. As Mr. Mendoza mentioned, on the prior year recommendation, this is an item that was noted in the last audit. And if you remember, the board did approve us to hire a company out of San Antonio to come and assist us with the audit. That is scheduled to begin February the 5th, which is next week. The process will take about a month to complete the audit of both campuses. After that, we will be working with the company on the reconciliation process. This process is important, as Mr. Mendoza noted to our office. We do have certain requirements under some of the federal grants to make sure that we conduct inventories every other year or every 2 years, I'm sorry, especially of items that are purchased using federal funding. So this will be important for us to complete because on the next cycle, we will be subject to that requirement on the equipment that was purchased for using the CARE Act funding. So again, this is the process that will be going. We do have a schedule already. We have already notified the departments to make sure that they have all their equipment in so that we can conduct a complete audit of both campuses. Any other questions regarding?
Any questions from members of the committee? Not at this time. Thank you, Mr. Vela.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mendoza.
Thank you, Mr. Mendoza.
Thank you so much.
All right, we'll move on to agenda item number 8, evaluate, score, and rank qualifications submitted by investment advisory services proposers. Mr. Cesar Vela. Again, I'll remind everybody that this is for the Finance and Audit Committee meeting, and although there is a quorum present, no action or motions will be taken.
Yes, good evening, members. Again, this item is requesting that the Finance and Audit Committee do a review of the qualifications that were received back on August the 10th for investment advisory services. Included in your packet, we have a tabulation sheet with the criteria that will be utilized to evaluate. We have 11 investment firms that submitted their qualifications. They've all have been informed that this process is still under review. The criteria that we're looking at has been summarized in the packets that are included in your board package. But the criteria that we're looking at is the companies were asked to submit their firm information, also provide a list of references, provide a brief history of the company and their organization, identify the employees that will be assigned to assist the institution if contracted, also to provide a listing of their clientele. Specifically, we were looking for experience with community colleges in Texas, and also to provide examples of their portfolio performance in some of these agreements that they have with these institutions. Again, the information is part of that package. Again, we have 11 investment firms, so we're asking that the Finance and Audit Committee conduct a review. Again, company information will account for 10 points. References for 10 points, history and organization 10 points, performance and employees 30 points, clientele 20 points, and portfolio performance 20 points for a total of 100 points.
Ms. Tita Vela?
Did you all review every single one you did?
I went through the packages.
Do you have, I just feel that if anybody here knows and has the best insight is you all, and I would just, did you all rank them? Do you have
We
a-
did not score or rank them. No, yeah, we
But
reviewed the information.
could you tell us
So
who, don't you want to know?
Yeah.
Right? On that,
I know that
See-
question has been posed before.
yeah, just to see what because they're the ones that are going to be working with them. And they're the ones that knows what they're looking for. What?
Chair recognizes legal counsel.
The recommendation shouldn't come from administration. It's a review of the board and the trustees review the information and evaluate it accordingly.
Hmm,
The RFQ that was, I'm
You're
sorry,
right.
the,
Go ahead.
the RFQ that was put out to all of the vendors
Mhm.
clearly states that the recommendation and approval will come from that finance committee of the board, and therefore staff cannot make a suggestion or
and-
recommendation. No, ma'am.
If there's a point of clarification that the administration can make as to a particular issue, I think administration could help clear up or
Clear
provide
up that.
guidance of a definition
Right.
or a point of issue, but to make a recommendation, I think it would be improper.
Legal, there was a question if this can be, does this have to be done during the meeting, in open session? Or is this allowed to be taken home to review, score, and bring tomorrow for tomorrow's board meeting?
No, I think you can, sorry?
The tally?
Yeah, yes, no, you can take it home and review it. I mean, I think it's incumbent upon the
Help us to vote
trustees to take the time to review it.
So if we can, do you want these tallies by a certain time frame before tomorrow's board meeting? Or do you just want us to show up with them and?
we can have them at the beginning of the board meeting, and we'll go ahead and tally the results and then present that information at the public meeting.
Okay.
Yes.
That sounds good.
That works for everybody?
I think so. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, everyone. All right, we're going to move on to agenda item number 9. Laredo College timeline for Raquel Gonzalez Automotive Technology Center expansion. Dr. Minita Ramirez and Mr. Cesar Vela.
Thank you, Mr. Delgado and board members. At our last regular board meeting, we had a discussion about an extension for our contractor in this particular item. And it was extended, and we're thankful for that, but there was a request that we review the timeline and what may have caused some of the delays in the contract itself. And therefore, Mr. Vela and I have met with the contractors, the architects, with the city planning department. And we have provided you with all of the data that we've been able to gather. All of the representatives are here. The architects from Frank Architects are here. Mr. Leindecker is here from Leindecker Construction, and Mr. John Hickle is here. Where's John?
Johnny?
Oh, there you are. Mr. John Hickle is here on behalf of city planning. So I don't know if you all have any questions about the information that we shared with you all.
First, I want to thank all the 3 representatives for being here. Greatly appreciated. This time, does anybody have any questions?
Let me just make an observation, if I may.
Chair recognizes Judge Martinez.
This diesel shop expansion project, in my opinion, will play a major role in our community. All of us are aware of the number of 18-wheeler traffic that cross through the international bridge, or bridges, I should say. Eventually, there's going to be even another bridge in South Laredo. Obviously, it is very important for the students that are very interested in learning more and eventually becoming diesel mechanics. I think it is important that we actually provide and offer as much as we possibly can, and at the same time promote it in our community, that the college will have and will be very much involved in the training of students for the actual becoming diesel mechanics, because obviously the demand is, it already is here, but in my opinion, it's going to become even more so. And that is, I feel very strongly that we address this issue in a very positive manner. And I think eventually, probably the time will come when that diesel shop will have to be expanded. That's the way I'm looking at it.
By the time we finish it, we'll be looking at the next expansion. Actually, we've
Right.
probably already outgrown it, so.
That's correct. So I think it is important for all of us, and certainly our faculty involved with this particular program, actually being made even more aware what the impact that they will have throughout the entire operation of this particular facility. That's my observation.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Judge.
Chairman.
Chair recognizes Mr. Rangel.
Thank you, Chair. Echoing a lot of the same sentiments that Judge Martinez went ahead and said, this is a very important project. I guess the question of the hour would be, Dr. Ramirez, can you just go based on our meeting? You know, I guess you were directed to meet with, of course, our staff, with the city, with the architect, the contractor. So what came about on the delay, on why we are where we're at right now? If you could just brief us on that, because I think that those were the majority of the questions that the board had to be able to determine if we were going to do an extension, which we did. And then hopefully, if we could just have allow them to chime in as well, and to answer any type of questions that, you know, we might have. But if you could just give us your update.
So based on our conversations, I think that there were many issues that arose throughout the last year. This project was actually sent for preliminary review in 2022. You all have the itemized listing of the number of dates. It started in November of 2022. And as far as obtaining the city permit, it took quite some time. And once we were able to get the project off the ground, then there was a water line that was discovered that took about 3.5 months to move. And so there was a utilities delay. And then after that, there was an additional delay because we were waiting, I believe, on some steel. And then there was, so unfortunately, because of the magnitude of the project and because of the magnitude of the supply needs for the project, additional delays occurred. It's not a secret. You all have the information here. It took quite a number of days for there to be a full completion to obtain a certificate to begin, right? For us to get to start the project from the get-go. And so as we look through the schedule, you're going to see how different departments, not So the planning department is the broker of the information to all of the departments within the city. And so while they try to manage that for everyone else, if there are questions from a specific department, it gets sent back to planning, then planning sends it back to either the architects or the contractor, and then they have to either redesign or come back and then send back to the city planning, who then brokers back to the particular department. And therefore, that process sometimes can be cumbersome. Some projects are much more cumbersome than other projects. We've been able to obtain the permit for the Arechiga. We were able to complete that process in about 70 days total, which is really good. And so it just depends on the magnitude of the project. This particular project, I believe Mr. Leindecker was telling us the plans itself are about 600 pages worth of plans. So the review of something that magnitude is quite a large scale. And so I'm not here to point fingers. I'm not here to put blame on anyone. I'm just here to try to give some clarification to the extension of the project. And because we've got a lot of underground stuff in this particular building, and then we've got a lot of overhang stuff that has to be considered. I think there was a lot of back and forth between architects and engineers on the mechanical side, on the civil side, and the contractor, and then the city. And so now in cooperation with the city planning department, we now have access to view all this in real time. So if we were to start a new project, we've been trained, Mr. Vela, Mr. Pais, myself, Mr. Valdez, we've all been trained to be able to log into the city system, to be able to track where are we with this process, and therefore give input as the projects evolve, or call and say, where are you? What's happening? Why is this taking so long? To try to help the process along. I think we also have a responsibility as the end user to try to put a little more time and effort into the oversight of what's happening with our construction. But we had a very robust discussion this afternoon with everyone. We've met with Mr. Hickel at least 3 times. His team at the city has been very supportive and very open to share their documentation. And so I don't know, did I leave anything out, Mr. Vela or Mr. Hickel, Mr. Leindecker, Frank, does anybody want to add anything to all of that?
I think you covered pretty much.
Well, I think on that note, and very quickly, because I mean, obviously we're going to have more projects in the future. But is there something that we've learned from what's happened, not necessarily with this one, but with others, that we can avoid from happening in the future? Is this timeline and being in touch with the city as far as reviewing the permit process and having that oversight, is that going to help to avoid these problems from happening again in the future?
I think it will. At least it'll keep us abreast of what's happening, and we can keep you abreast of what's happening. That's for starters. I also think that it's not in anyone's best interest for us to take, or for the process to take this long. It doesn't benefit the contractor, because there not only are there delays, there's extra expenditures. It doesn't behoove the architects because they want to move on to other projects and can't. It doesn't behoove us, obviously, because we have students in the pipeline that are waiting for facilities to be built so that we can get them in to the school. So it's not in anybody's benefit to delay a project. But I do think that we have to make a stronger and more concerted effort to keep up with what's happening. I know that all of you drive around both campuses and frequent them. And so if you see something, let us know. We need all the support that we can get, but I think we learned that we need to be more conscientious about what's happening with our construction projects. That's the first thing. I also think that we learned that in our discussion that maybe there's room for growth, both on better communication between the architects, the engineers, the contractor, and the city, which we have nothing to do with, but I'm happy to bring everybody to the table to, have that conversation. And if that's what we need to do, then that's what we need to do. What's happening? Why is this taking so long? If it gets to that point. I'm grateful to all of them. I know that, as I said, the conversation was quite robust. And it needed to happen. And maybe we need to make recommendations to help Mr. Hickle and his department upgrade their software and technology. We've been brought to the table on that aspect many a times. We needed to upgrade, we needed to make the expense, we needed to provide the support, not only to our employees, but to our community. And we bit the bullet, and we're making that expense now, and we're retraining everybody. And maybe that's a takeaway for us to share with some of the city dads. I will tell you that the staff at the city planning department is very open to working with all of us. Nothing is a secret there. Nothing is a secret at the construction company at Leindecker, and nothing is a secret at Frank Architects either. I mean, I think it just means we need to communicate better with them, and they need to communicate better with us. If there's something that we need to help with, then they need to let us know. All of you are in a position of authority and power, and can certainly help sometimes move things along quicker than maybe some of us can. And so we appreciate that.
No, and thank you, Dr. Ramirez, and thank you to the three of y'all for being here. I think Dr. Ramirez hit the nail on the head with regards to the communication, because of the fact that we all want these projects, especially when they're brought up to us, especially when they're discussed. And I think I speak for everybody. Whenever a project comes to our table, we get excited. We want it done the next day. Obviously, won't happen. But hopefully these lines of communication can be open moving forward and stay open, so that those projects come to fruition a lot faster, rather than waiting 6 months to a year extra than anything else that should take that long.
And I think we all agreed, right, gentlemen, that the number of days that it took to get this permit was unacceptable, right? I think we all agreed to that. And again, that there are lots of factors for the why it took. It wasn't one department, it wasn't one person, it wasn't one company, there's so many factors that added to that. So I just want to reiterate that.
Chair recognizes Ms. Lupita Cepeda.
So thank you, gentlemen, for being here. But my question is, we have granted the extension. So going forward, are we seeing anything that's going to delay us other than weather? I'm looking at you, but I mean, are we looking at having to go back to the city for more additional permits? And I'm at the South Campus, so I get to see everything that goes on every day. So are we looking at additional permits, or all permits are already in place?
Will you come to the
Yeah.
podium,
You
please,
Come to the podium.
Come to the podium and state your name, please.
for the record?
Gary Leindecker Construction.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I'm not aware of any other permits we're going to need
Okay.
at this point. The other item we generally run into, which also adds to the time, is getting a CO at the end. But those are things that we do all the time. This permit was kind of a anomaly, is what it was, trying to get it, and it just stretched out for a very long time. And as we discussed today, everybody had, their own story and their own position on it. But we've got it now. We just need to proceed forward with this thing. it is more time consuming now at the city of Laredo to get a permit. There's no doubt about that. I mean, we can look back at some past projects like Lewis Energy. That was a 30-day permit back in those days. Even the nursing facility at the south, which, I mean, at today's cost, that would be a $40 million project. It took us less than a month to get that permit. I think you recall that too. So I think things are complicated now. I think some of the technology has made things a little more complicated. And some of the oversight too has become a little more extensive than what it used to be. Mr. Hickle has a very tough job. There's no doubt about it. And him and I talk all the time. I mean, I call him constantly, you know, where's my so-and-so permit? And we have these conversations always. So it's not like anybody's just sitting there waiting for a permit. He will tell you, I'm sure he gets tired. He probably looks at his phone ring. It was, oh my God, that's Gary again. You know, I don't blame you. I don't blame you. But those are the things that we're faced with now. And we could have other delays on other permits in the future too. We're getting a little used to it, but
on this
I think-
particular project that we've just extended,
we've
extended it almost a whole year.
Well, it just wasn't the permit. I mean, there was some other issues too, if you read the letter. And one of the biggest items was the relocation of the AEP underground, their primary out there. That probably hurt us just as much, or I shouldn't say, extended it just as much as the building permit did. And then there was the underground water lines, and there was a few other things that had to be relocated so we could proceed with the project.
But do we foresee anything going forward?
Not now.
Everything should
You
be
know,
in place, except
everything.
for weather.
I've been doing this for, I don't even know how long now, maybe 35 or 40 years. And can other things happen? Yes. Do I foresee anything at this point? No, I do not.
Because like my counterpart here, Mr. Martinez said, it's a very important facility
Mhm.
and we need it like yesterday.
Well,
So-
the project is proceeding well right now.
Yes, it is.
It's proceeding very
And-
well
and
right
you can
now.
see
And
the
so we're
difference.
we're
Yes.
out there really making an effort to try to make up some of the time right now.
And you can see it.
Yes,
I've been
thank you.
seeing it every
Yeah,
day.
right.
And thank you for that.
So we are proceeding well, and let's just hope that we can continue the track and we don't have any other upsets, because the upsets hurt us more than people know. I
Sure.
mean, we have constant price increases,
Right,
and we don't want to come to y'all and ask you for additional money.
right.
You've been a client for way too long for us to do that.
We don't have it.
We don't have any either. We don't have any either, okay? We're kind of in the same boat, but the project will get done for the contract price on it. Let's just hope we don't have any other delays on it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Chair recognizes Judge Martinez.
I'm sure Mr. Lineker is aware of this. But actually, brief history, that particular tract of land and that used to be a major dump site. And let's hope that the actual site of which you were working would not run into some of that unfortunately it did happen previously when under previous construction sites.
Yeah,
That is correct.
that's right.
That's the reason why I'm bringing it up, Mr. Landeck.
I don't think that should be an issue at this point, but you're right. We did hit it in the nursing. And
Yes, sir.
as you recall, we had to get a complete abatement process going there when we discovered that there, but I don't think it's going to be an issue over here. So.
And the good thing about it, that unfortunately, you're the one that unfortunately experienced that.
Mhm.
And the way I see it, it's very fortunate that you're also there because of the experience that you went through.
Thank you.
And at the same time, that basically will, in my opinion, it's a benefit that we are fortunate that you have that experience that you went through, and let's
Mhm.
hope that will not happen at all in the present, construction site.
Well, I think we're going to be okay here. So,
Fortunately.
yeah, we haven't hit anything at this point and we've done most of our excavation. We do have a few, utility lines we still need to put in, but we haven't really found anything that bothers me. So.
Great, thank you, sir.
And
Thank you very much.
one of the things, correct me if I'm wrong, Gary, the pits where the oil changing pits, we had to go down, what was it, 30 feet? And right where the trucks are gonna park and there's some underground pits where their students are gonna work under the truck.
No. Yeah, it's on footings, but I mean, that's
Okay.
not, yeah. Yeah, it's not that. Yeah, no, we're okay. We've already gotten past all that. So,
Okay,
yeah,
all right.
yeah, we're doing okay.
Thank you.
Chair recognizes Mr. Rangel.
Thank you. Just a couple of the same things, first of all, thank you all for being here, but all we ask, Dr. Ramirez, is, we need to be a little bit more responsible, starting with us, as a board, and then trickling it down to you and Mr. Vela, Mr. Pais. There needs to be a hand raised saying, hey, there's an issue here, because at the end of the day, we're going to be the ones responding to the constituents on where we're at on a certain project. So all we ask is also our staff to be held accountable just as much as we're holding them accountable as well. And of course, on your end, if there's something that you all see from Mr. Leindecker, Mr. Hickel, Mr. Solis, if anything you all see that might be coming down, let know administration so they could just advise us and at least we know. I think the biggest problem that happened in the last meeting was when we just saw that huge gap and everybody just, all eyes popped out on saying what actually happened here. And I think that was the biggest surprise compared to if we would have been told this is being delayed because of certain reasons. I think we would have probably taken it in a very different manner. But I think that's the key component to be able to have that communication that is distributed through all the partnerships.
Yes, sir.
So that's all I ask. Hopefully you can keep us updated on this project. I also did pass this past weekend through there because I had to go to the valley and I did go around a huge difference from where we were at to where we're at right now. You could totally see. So I do really appreciate everybody from your all's end, from the city, from the contractor, from the architects of actually taking note of this is a really important project. So thank you so much for doing that. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Any other questions from members of the committee?
No.
Ms. Tita Vela?
I just want to commend you because you've come a long way.
Thank you. Ultimately, the buck stopped with me.
Well,
And we appreciate that.
but during this time, it's just during the holidays and to get everything done like this.
Yeah. Thank you all.
Good job.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank
All
you,
right,
gentlemen.
We'll move on to agenda item number 10, Laredo College construction update. Mr. Cesar Vela.
Yes, board members, I'm gonna ask Mr. Pais to give you an update and also Mr. Chavez will provide the update on the IT infrastructure projects.
Good evening, board members. Omar Pais, project manager for Laredo College. We're bringing you another update this year of 2024, the first one for the year. I have a list of projects that you've seen briefly before on our last presentation. Some of them have been removed and completed. So this is a fresh list. This is an ongoing list, active project sites, other projects that are active and being programmed for either design or in the process to be brought forward for eventually a board approval. So I will go through a series of slides. I'll touch on every single job site. The first one is the one that we were just talking about right now. There has been a lot of progress on site. I also included some dates for your reference, for your file, for your record on when the work commenced on site, when do we expect substantial completion, and the punch list period is when we take care of all the little details that need to be looked at and finished up. 100%. And then, of course, the final completion date for the project. This is the official completion date after the 60 days, which is February 19th of 2025. As expressed by Mr. Leindecker, we went ahead and presented this extension to you last month. It got approved, and as he also expressed that there wasn't any impact or change on the contract amount at this time. The project is moving forward. I have a couple of slides here of the diesel shop expansion. So I'll put my pointer on them. Also the auto collision, which is a little bit further up ahead. And then we have some more photographs of the diesel shop with the masonry going up, some of the wall barrier on the welding shop area. And of course, the structure, the new structures for both the diesel shop and the auto collision. We have another large job on the South Campus, the Protective Service Facility renovation. That project is moving forward. A couple of photographs of some progress on the site. You can see the framing, the platform for the new large lecture room to be able to house their student population during the process of them going through the cadet school. Some of the electrical upgrades on the site, some more details on some of the platform. A couple of photographs on the expansion of the new men's and women's restrooms. These are added restrooms to the facility because right now they have just very minimal services available for their students. So we're expanding that service for them. The commence date is noted September 25th, 2023, substantial completion date October 9th, 2024. We do have a 60-day period for punch list, and the final completion date is expected for December 9th. Currently, we are on schedule on this project. The MFA HVAC replacement here at the main campus, the chill water line and plant upgrade project. This project is moving forward. This is a rather very complicated project that has been going on for several months now. And we do have some critical tentative dates that are coming up. They're listed here. So we are expected a spring break 2024 chill water line shutdown for the VPA, the LEAC, and the MFA building. And this is being requested to go ahead and put in some flow line indicators on the major lines that do supply the HVAC units for these facilities. We are expecting the AEP transformer delivered in sometime in March. We're waiting for that to be dropped in the month of March. Their perimeter fencing material delivered has been confirmed for April of 2024. Substantial completion will be June 2024. We do have 30 days for that punch list and a final completion date of July 2024. And I've included some photographs of some of the major work that's been going on the site. This is the new chiller that was placed to go ahead and increase the operation of the chill water plant here at the main campus for those three facilities. Additional photos of the same improvements. A lot of welding, a lot of pipes going up, pumps. It's a rather complicated system, but everything is going according to schedule. We do have currently the Ruben Garcia facility, the interior chill water lines that are being replaced. That's being done by a company by the name of Daikin. That work started November 8th, and it's currently in progress. And there has been a lot of progress on the project, and should be completed here soon. The Lamar Bruni Relgara environmental.
Mr. Price.
Yes.
1 second, please. Chair recognizes Mr. Martinez.
Excuse me for interrupting here, sir. I know that you're talking about the Ruben Garcia facility, and there was a major break on the water lines, and obviously there was a major impact on the well, I know that the Border Patrol was one of the agencies that were involved in there. Was all of that addressed properly and being able to work things out with the people that were actually within that structure.
Yeah, I think you're referring to the chill water lines that were hit here
Yes,
this
sir.
couple of days ago. That work is currently being scheduled to be repaired by the contractor. I believe it involves global technology and maybe somebody that he may be subbing out to do those repairs. But that work is still ongoing and still pending to be completed. But they are working on the repair.
Chair recognizes Dr. Ramirez.
I can give you a quick update on that. So, last Thursday, about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, we had a contractor that was moving, fiber lines from the annex out, since that facility is ready to be demolished. It has no roof. And so it still had some live wire under. The contractor was actually moving the lines, and when they were, I guess, going underground, they hit both the chill water line going into the plant and the chill water line coming out of the plant. And so it was quite a gush. The city utilities department came out right away. Our folks got on it right away, and it was determined that the company made a mistake. Therefore, the company is having it fixed. So all the little flags of where all the other lines were there, for some reason, the water line wasn't flagged, and so they hit it with a backhoe. And so
Thank you.
that's where we are.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ramirez. Go ahead, Mr. Price.
The Lamar Bruni Vergara environmental renovation project is currently ongoing. We have very good progress on the site. I've included some photographs of some of the improvements already. We're pretty much done with all of the demolition phase. So everything that I've included here is almost all the improvements to the facility. So you see a couple of underground conduits that are going to be eliminated and rerouted for new service. This is the vet area facility, and then this is the animal display facility on the interior, and the small building is the enclosure for the bird enclosure facility on the site. We do have a lot of major improvements long overdue for this facility. We have discovered some of the plumbing underground and some of these wet holes that were connected wrong from the very beginning. So the current subcontractor on the site is correcting all of those underground piping right now. You'll see on the photographs some of the new pads, a couple of gentlemen working on some of the skimmers for the alligator pit, and then some other, the excavator is actually working on a new pump facility, one of several that we added. And then down on the bottom, you see a couple of subcontractors working on the actual finish, cleaning the finish off of the existing large pond to be able to apply a new finished surface to that large water pond. And then the last one is the new alligator facility, and you can see the existing pond and the expansion that we are going to have for the alligator pit. So everything is to improve the actual operation of the facility. We have very, very good progress on this facility right now going on with everybody working on site. Here, close to us, the Arechiga facility interior and exterior renovation project, very interesting project, very complicated. We've uncovered a lot. Some of the photographs kind of give you the ongoing conditions of the site. Some of the outdoor patios that have been demoed, removed. Some of the steel members that had been placed there when when the building got first built. The condition of the piers of each of the columns that sit out there right now in their existing conditions. And then some of the original metal decorative tile on the ceiling that we've uncovered. This particular room, we're going to try to return it to its natural condition when the building got first built. So we are working and trying to get all those details done and coordinated with all the subs and the contractor.
That
We
room,
still,
I'm sorry,
go ahead.
Homer, excuse me, but that room has a beautiful wood floor
Mhm.
that we're hoping to be able to salvage. It's a beautiful wood floor.
Yeah, so for the most part, regarding the wood floor on the first floor, we're looking to try to refurbish the entire first floor. So we're gonna go down that avenue to go ahead and restore that floor. And on the second floor, we have discovered that a third of the facility has plywood decking on it. I don't know, y'all are probably familiar with a fire that we had in that building years back, before my time. But so now we've uncovered everything, and now we've actually been able to discover of where that fire took place, because of the use of plywood compared to the wood floor, that currently or used to exist, in the building. So our thought is to, place the wood decking, floor material that was used in P14 at the Imaginarium on that 1/3 of the building, and then redo the other existing flooring because it's in very good condition. So we have the subcontractor right now that's going to be preparing some samples for us, to see what the finished product will look like once we get to that phase of the job.
When is the expected completion date?
So yeah, the work started on November 6th. We went into demolition mode. And the substantial completion is for November 5th. The punch list is 30 days, so final completion will be December 5th. Very tight time frame, very complicated building, but we're on it every other 2 weeks. We do have site meetings on all of these projects with the entire team. Any concerns are brought up, discussions, clarifications. And aside from that, we do visit the site quite often. One project that we'll be bringing to you all here eventually for review and approval is a project under Robert Sepulveda. The construction documents and specifications have been completed. We have notified Robert Sepulveda and his office to release the documents to Linedecker Construction. They are CMAR at risk contractors on this project. They will hold the plans in their office for the month of February. And we're wanting to review the CMAR price in the month of March and present to the board for review and approval, possibly in April of 2024. And then prepare the contract with documents for May, and then issue documents for permit probably in May, a little bit ahead of time, so we get a head start on the issuing of permits, allow them to turn them into the city of Laredo to start that process, and then hopefully have a permit by June or if not July. It is a pretty straightforward project, and I don't think the permit process should take that long. And of course, we'll keep in close communication with the architect and the city of Laredo and the contractor to try to get that permit out as soon as possible. The estimated timeframe for the project is estimated about 12 months. Well, we put 12 months. We still don't know. We still need to sit down and go through the process with the contractor and find out what the time frame or what they think, and then we'll go ahead and type that time frame down and have it under the contract.
If you all recall, this project, we considered doing this because the students in the summer, when it's 114 degrees, are welding out under the sun. And I get it, when they go out and work, they're probably going to do that as well. But I think we have, if we could just extend the cover on that to provide some shade from the direct heat, it
Would help.
yes, risk management is very concerned over
Yeah.
it being open like that. So So this is one of those health and safety risks, things that we really need to attend to.
So the new structure actually spans from the building on the west side and overhangs on top of the roof, and then completely free spans over to the east side of the building to create all this as a covered work area for the students, so they're not out in the middle of the sun. And then, of course, we're putting a large fan for circulation of air, LED lighting, and then we're also revamping one of their welding shops to separate their different uses of welding and creating a new welding lab for them along the west side of the building. The Moore Building rooftop and the P1 rooftop exterior improvements. As we stand today, the Moore facility rooftop has been fully completed 100%. We will be walking for a punch list, and we do have a scheduled inspection by the material provider so we can get certified and get the certificate of for warranty purposes for our file. Down on the bottom, you see some of the improvements similar to what we did at Ruben Garcia. So we are exchanging windows out. We're painting the entire perimeter of the building. And then, of course, we're adding the new material to the top of the metal roof. And like Ruben Garcia, the P1 building, after doing detail repairs, numerous bullet holes were found on top of that building as well.
Bullet holes?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Happy New Year.
From New Year's.
Yeah. So it's something we experience here in the area, and we do as well at the South Campus. And usually when we have a leak, we always look into it, and sometimes it results that it's an incident of a projected bullet hole coming to our roofs. So we try to repair them as soon as we find them. We do have two current facilities on this campus that are being recommended for demolition, which is P7 and 8, and then the West Annex. These documents are currently in progress with Cavazos Architects, and my understanding is later on this year, we'll bring it forward to go out for bids. And I think this will be budgeted and funded by the upcoming funding for
maintenance.
the deferment maintenance monies.
Chair recognizes Judge Martinez.
I do have a question. Would the college have problem claiming those particular building being historical? Would we actually have to be, exposed with being challenged by whoever it might be,
Right, yes, sir.
due to
So
the fact that it's a historical facility?
right, so we have brought in, along with the architect, we brought in the historical people from the state. The facilities were walked, not as much as the annex, because that building came a little bit afterwards, but we did have that question for P7 and P8, which is the dormitory facility, the men's dormitory.
Yes, sir.
So we found out that building is not under the historical recognition of the state. So we're allowed to demo it.
Excellent. Well, I'm glad to hear that.
So we made sure that we had that clarification with the state first.
Chair recognizes Tita Vela.
That's the men's old dorms. The women's dorms still are on the west side. Those are painted yellowish with the green. But this building sits right east of that building.
Chair recognizes Mr. Vela.
Yes, board members, this particular building has been in disrepair for years. We've actually had to fence it out for security reasons. It is pretty much falling apart. We did, as Mr. Pais mentioned, we did reach out to the Historical Commission, which in turn returned it and told us that we were okay with demolishing the building. The only request they had was that we document the building before we actually demolish it. So that's what's currently in process right now. The architect is working on the documentation. obviously getting all the scope of work ready so that we can go out for bids. But we are going to document the building to have a record of the building and the dimensions and everything on file.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rivera.
If we ever build anything there again, I hope it looks like that.
True. Just need to make sure we get the right permits.
Yes, sir.
Oh, he's not, John's not here.
He's already gone.
So that's part of the process that the architect is doing right now for the dormitories especially, is that the building is being scanned. And that's normally a new technology that is out now. So they bring in a scanning machine, walk around with a little scan, kind of like the car scans the street and everything. So there's a scanning machine now that records all of the walls, doors, openings, ducts, everything. So that information then is taken to the AutoCAD file and turned into floor plans for our record. So eventually we'll get those documents for our file. Another exciting project that we have coming down the pipeline is the old post guardhouse renovation. Is the future LC Veterans Center. That is under Cavazos Architects. The facility was scanned already. Schematic design is currently in progress. We will probably have a meeting here in the next couple of weeks to review schematics and get feedback back to the architect. And also meet with the end users to make sure that we have everything included. We also had the civil MEP engineers survey the surrounding utilities around the facility. Because we'll be including some new restrooms in this facility because there currently is no restrooms inside the building. So we'll be providing new plumbing and water lines for the facility. Once we get going, we hope to bring this project for board approval for May of 2024 this year. And then we'll, of course, after that, we'll go ahead and put down the dates of how long the improvements will take.
We're still waiting for the money from the federal government as well. The budget,
Yeah.
the federal budget hasn't been yet approved, and so that 1.4 million is still in there. And I spoke to the congressman actually on Saturday, and it's on tap. It's not untouched. It's still there, and it's pending the House Republican approval of the budget.
That should be no problem.
Hope so.
So just saying.
P14, the new Imaginarium facility. We are doing exterior painting and soffit work improvements to the facility. That work is currently ongoing. There has been a lot of good progress on the facility. A couple of photographs of before and after some of the improvements. The bright green color that you see is it's not the final color. It's the actual primer. I know that some people got worried when they started seeing the color, but it is the primer before the actual paint goes on to the finish of the wood. Some of the soffit work you can see has already received some of the first hands of some of the final paint. Some additional photos of the same building, P14. Some of the soffits work that had to get redone. The above deck has a door access, a patio. So we had to redo that entire walking surface on the second level as well. And then, of course, the concrete patios will be refinished and receive brand new paint. And then you see some of the new paint. This is actually the final paint, but this is just the first hand. And then, of course, all this is just all primer for right now. We have emphasized for the contractor to stay on the site as much as possible to try to get this project done. We have been impacted a little bit with wet days, rain days with low temperatures when during those conditions, we can't apply any paint to our facilities. So they tend to wait for the right day. But currently we expect for them to make much progress here in the next couple of weeks. Any questions, answers?
I think the only question that I have is for any of the projects that are active right now, do you foresee any, or have you noticed any issues, permit issues, extension possibilities?
No, I mean, all I can mention is that I've been in this field, in this type of position for 22 years, and I've never had a perfect job site. There's always things that come out. We work around them. We work together as a team. We'll try to get through them without impacting the contract amount. Most of the time, that does happen. But we did have a meeting here on the site there at the diesel shop this morning with the entire team. We had the contractor, we had the architect, the electrical, the plumber, the HVAC. And we don't have any foreseen items right now. We do have the two major foundation down already. The only large mass of concrete that we have is the actual patio courtyard that used to exist, but all that had to get redone. But what we've gone down into the ground, including the service pit, all of that concrete has already been poured. And we have a full team on site right now to go ahead and try to get this job done as soon as possible.
Nice. Any other questions from members of the committee? All right. Thank you, Mr. Price.
Thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is 7:16 PM and we are adjourned. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.